So let's talk about the Indian volleyball team, the men's volleyball team at the Asian Games. They've done an absolutely smashing job. I watched the match against South Korea, and what high tension match it was, how brilliantly the boys played. And there is an amazing run that they are having. The strangest part is, if you're talking about stats, that India are number 73 in the world, and they beat South Korea, which is ranked number 43. Also, the fact is that they beat Chinese Taipei in three sets straight, and they won 25-22, 25-22, 25-21. Sandeep, when we are analyzing and talking about the volleyball team, what basically, as a layperson, I saw was these the tall boys who are mainly from Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu, dominating the sport. How has the sudden change come about?
I I don't think it's about a sudden change. I think we sometimes forget that, when a team goes to play a world championship or it goes to play, let's say, the Asian championship in volleyball, it's very, very different from when you come to a multi-event discipline or a multi-event tournament or an event like the Asian Games, where the strengths and the weaknesses kind of fall into, as we were saying in the previous one, like a level playing field where you actually understand that this is just not a championship you've only come to play volleyball, though that's the focus, but it's a whole Asian Games that's happening. And I think upsets and all of that usually happen in multi-event quite regularly rather than the straightforward Asian Championship or the World Championship for that matter. But in your starting line, when you when you said Kerala, I think that itself is fascinating because I mean I remember the one volleyball star that India had produced, though they have produced many, but the reason I'm saying this is that one star that we all remember was Jimmy George, who came from Kerala, played in the Italian league, became a phenomenon. He was flamboyant, he was everything, and he gave Indian volleyball a very solid name in the 70s and the 80s. Jimmy was huge in terms of volleyball, and I think it'll be fantastic if this particular team can probably do all of that again in a sense that become a power, become the top 20, become the top 15, and actually become the top 5 and 6 in Asia. The next game, what can one say? I mean, like they are on a hot streak, India. But if they can, get past Japan, that would be immensely fantastic because understand Japan is a three-time Olympic medalist. Nothing less. Of course, they won the bronze in '64, they won a silver in '68, and they won a gold in '72. But after that, Japanese really plummeted, in the '70s and the later '80s. But now they're picking themselves up. And I think, if I can recall correctly, I think in July around, they beat Italy to win a medal at the World Volleyball Championships. So I think you are up against a team that's very, very solid, very, very good.
Already, one of our viewers is saying that the next match against Japan will be tough. Yes, it will be tough. India will face world number 5 Japan in the quarterfinals, undoubtedly. But the journey for the Indian volleyball team has been a pretty long one and a pretty interesting one in the sense that, look at stats. India have won a total of 3 medals in volleyball, 3 at the Asian Games, a silver and 2 bronze, the last of which came in 1986. So, Sandeep, this time, if you had to wear your thinking cap, would you predict a podium finish?
Well, if you win the next game, of course, you can always predict anything to happen in the last four. But Japan is not easy. Believe me, they are not easy because they're coming off a very, very hot streak. I mean, they have been winning massively in the last 1 year, 6 months to 8 months. So the team is up there. The team has been readying itself by playing superbly on the world stage, and now they're playing at the Asian Games. So for them, it's also there's the Olympic qualifiers that are up for Japan, which is also going to be. So this is more like a team coming together to be able to or to play India, which means it makes it so much more difficult for us. But just coming back to just 2 points I wanted to make for volleyball and basketball. We keep talking about so much sport in India. Believe me, if there are two sports that can really come out of the school, inter college, inter university level. It is basketball and volleyball. And I think with the volleyball league starting, there has been a push. The players love it, and it's getting a little bit of attention, if not the entire attention, which anyway in our country it's never going to get unless they go and take up Olympic medals somewhere. But if this sport, looking at these wins and all of that, if this sport can actually make it to school in a very professional level, college extremely professional, and into university at a very high level, then you are set for the next 10 to 15 years where you might become a powerhouse in Asia.
Shoban is asking which is the best team in Asia.
I think at this moment of time, Japan is very high because simply because of of the way they have been winning in the last 6 to 8 months and the way they have brought this team back. Understand they have reached the top in the world, which means a gold medal at the Olympics, and then they have come down heavily. They have come down to almost virtually nothing. They're in the I think the basic resurgence in a way started at the Tokyo Olympics where they reached the quarterfinals, and that is the team that's come together to kind of now take on the world and probably prove it to themselves that the next Olympics in Paris you will see a top four Japan team. So which also again coming back to that point, so it's going to be one hell of a game tomorrow. India has nothing to lose. I know it's a cliche, but India has a lot to prove to themselves actually, because also I think if we go back to the top eight notion that only the top eight teams that are ranked in the continent can go to the Asian Games, I think the volleyball team has proved it wrong. And I really wish the football team also does it by going to the quarterfinals. And I also really, really wish that we had put some support and some faith in the water polo team, which nobody did. The water polo guys were ninth. So I'm not able to understand, and I know I'm going a little off track, but I'm not able to understand if you can give the same amount of space to volleyball, if you can give more than the space to football, just because a couple of articles or a couple of voices out there started raving and ranting about football. Why not do it for water polo? Why do we make these discriminations on sport? You want to rave and rant about football, do it. I mean, go to the rooftop and scream as much as you want, but then scream also for water polo. What stops you? So I think the water polo team should have been here, and I think maybe you could have had a few more upsets like what volleyball did.
Last point on volleyball, I heard quite a few experts during, also some of whom were sitting in the com box. They kept praising the strikers, the Indian strikers, for their ability to smash relentlessly. They said it is a question of fitness, also part of strategy. He says it was never the Indian team was never this attacking, and also the third point is height. One guy was 6 feet, almost nine. There are two other guys who are backing him as a trio, 6 feet 6, 6 feet 5. So does height matter? And tactically, have the team switched over, particularly the strikers, to a new mode of attack and relentless attack?
I think it is tactical in a way when you play such such highly rated teams, because unless you play tactical, and then if the core strength is not there, then what kind of tactics can you prepare for a team? So the core strength is there. It's always been there actually in a way. But I think the competitiveness comes from playing more and more games. That is exactly what a lot of fans and a lot of people say, that if you're going to send teams to the Asian Games, you're not sending them just because you want to represent the country. You're also giving them that much of exposure. Are we giving them the exposure? I think that's where the ministry needs to ask itself those questions. And 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 believe me, there are times when I think that if you're not getting that exposure at the Asian Championships or the Asian Games, why not send your team for tours? The point is that if other sports can, hockey goes on tours regularly. Cricket is such a big sport. I mean, apart from the IPL and all of that, if you're going on tours with other countries, the same thing can happen with volleyball. The same thing can happen with water polo, and the same thing can happen with other sports. That you're going to Europe on a 6, 7, 8 match streak, you play some of the best teams there, and that's where you understand what's required at a major championship. So this is probably a starting point for volleyball, and I really hope and probably pray at the same time that they don't stop it here. They make these boys go out, When I spoke about Jimmy George, what happened at that time? Jimmy became such a huge player in Italy, and Italy, believe me, volleyball is massive. So when he becomes a big player in Italy, the whole it's heard about and written about in India. And when Jimmy comes and plays here in India, when he was there, he's not alive anymore. But when he was there, that's the time when fans used to come in Kerala just to see Jimmy George as to who is this guy. And I think that's when the sport grows. Somewhere we stopped growing. This is a nice period. This is a great moment. The momentum is with us, win or lose against Japan, if they play with their hearts out, I think tomorrow is going to be a big day for Indian volleyball.
So one of the questions which has just popped up said that what about the result versus Japan, which I think you've already answered partly by saying that India has nothing to lose. So
Yeah,
put in
it's
their
it's
best.
it's it's a highly ranked team. It's a highly ranked team. So I think against a highly ranked team, what do you do? I mean, when you compare it to other sport, what does the other sport do? They just go in and they play their game. They don't get
Yeah.
rattled. So if you don't get rattled, the other team anyway is going to play its level. Japan is not going to drop a level. That much is for sure. Because for them also to come and play in China at the Asian Games means only one thing is to take the gold medal and go home. For us, it is about taking Japan right down to the last inches, to the last stretch. If they can do that, I think they'll come back with a huge amount of confidence. If they win, well, tomorrow is going to be Diwali for Indian volleyball at least.
Okay, all the best to the Indian volleyball team, and let's hope they create some more magic against Japan. Already, the tall boys of our team have become stars, and their pictures are all over social media. Their messages are going out. India's backing them. All the best, and thanks, Sandeep, once again.
Thank you.